Well, hello everyone, and thank you all for inviting me to speak about a topic that I've been intrigued and fascinated with for about a decade or so. It is a pleasure to be with you today. Little Shirley Mason's mother picks her up, brings her to the kitchen, turns her upside down, hangs her by her legs near the kitchen sink, takes an enema tip, inserts it into her urethra, and fills it with cold water. She then takes little Shirley down, brings her to the living room, sits her on the floor, sits at the piano and starts playing. And in the middle of her song, she's telling her little girl, hold your water, hold your water. If the mother wasn't filling her urethra with cold water, she was either forcing sharp objects into her vagina, tripping her so she'd fall down the stairs, or locking her in a box for days outside in the heat. This is the kind of mental, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse little Shirley Mason endured at the hands of her mother for years. In fact, the trauma, the experience was so horrific for this 5-year-old little girl that she developed 16 personalities. If any of this sounds familiar, it's because little Shirley Mason's story was made into a movie called Sybil in the late 70s. I first watched this movie in 1980, and I was shocked and surprised. I'd never heard of multiple personality disorder before. I was so shocked that I became obsessed and started reading as many articles and as many case studies and watching as many movies as I could on the disorder. And the more I read, the more fascinated I became with it. Today I'm going to, in an effort to give you a better understanding and view of multiple personality disorder, I'm going to explain its causes, its symptoms, treatment methods, and prognosis. The National Alliance on Mental Illness defines dissociative identity disorder as a disturbance of identity in which two or more separate and distinct personality states or identities control the individual's behavior at different times. The characteristics of the disorder is a disruption and fragmentation in the integrated functions of a person's consciousness, memory, identity, and even in how they perceive the environment. What this means is that their feelings and their memories don't go together. For example, they may think of an event and have a good feeling about it but can't remember it, don't have any association about it whatsoever. This results in dissociation, where they dissociate themselves from the event. At least two distinct personalities, and the personalities have to take full control of the person's behavior. The distinguishable traits of personalities, or they're sometimes called alters. They have their own names. They range in different ages, gender, physical characteristics, mannerisms, and even nationality. In the story of Shirley Mason, I told you of her 16 personalities, 2 were males. One was a very sophisticated girl named Vicky from France who spoke French. One was extremely religious. One was a painter, a writer. One was heavily involved in politics. And one was real quiet, shy, and timid. So just to kind of give you an idea of how all of these various personalities had their own distinguishable traits. The causes of the disorder. According to experts, dissociative identity disorder develops in childhood, usually around the age of 5 or 6 years old, and it's as a result of severe and prolonged trauma, like the examples I gave you earlier about Shirley Mason. Basically what happens is when a child is faced with events that are so traumatic, as a defense mechanism, a survival mechanism, they detach or dissociate themselves by developing other identities where they can pass on that trauma to identities that can help protect them, identities that can handle the abuse identity, that can help protect the host personality. And so that's basically what this is all about. The dissociative is really a survival defense mechanism. The symptoms, amnesia, they'll have blackouts, They'll lose time, and it's typically when the alters take over. When the alters take over. Depersonalization, derealization, that's almost like they feel like they're having an out-of-body experience, almost hallucinations, like they'll see buildings or objects and they'll change colors or shapes. Identity disturbances. This one is very common where they'll meet people and the person will call them by a different name, will know them by a different name. Well, it's their alter. That person may have come into contact with them when another alter had taken over. And the host personality, the real person, if it's them at that time, they have no recollection of that person, don't know who that person is, etc. That's what the identity disturbance is. Other common symptoms: depression, substance abuse, eating disorder, and suicidal. Treatment methods for someone suffering from this disorder: psychotherapy, and it's very long and intense psychotherapy with a therapist. That's one-on-one that could last for years and years and years. Very, very intense. It will also include group therapy. According to experts, group therapy works really good when everyone in the group is suffering from this disorder. If not, you can imagine being in a group with someone with this disorder and the alters come out, how freaked out that would be. So it does help as long as everyone in the group is suffering from that disorder. And family therapy. There's therapy for the families of someone suffering with this disorder to help the family understand so they can help support the person better. Hypnosis. Hypnosis is very common. It's used to help the host personality with memories that have been repressed, typically traumatic events. And also hypnosis is used to help them with problematic behavior. People with DID, again, substance abuse, eating disorders, hypnosis will typically help them with those illnesses as well. Medication, tranquilizers, and antidepressants, although most therapists try to shy away from giving medication to people who suffer from this disorder for several reasons. Because the therapy is so long, the chances of them getting addicted to any one of these medications is very high. Also, one or more of the alters, it's very common for one or more of the alters to have substance abuse problems. And when you mix alcohol with any one of these medications, it could really be dangerous. So they really try, although in some cases they use them, but most therapists try to shy away from them. Prognosis. The earlier it's diagnosed and treated, the better. Prognosis for children is excellent. Prognosis for adults is good. One of the things I failed to mention earlier is that as someone with dissociative identity disorder is changing, switching from one alter to the next, many times, more times than not, this person is not even aware that they have alters, that they have other personalities. And it's not until they become adults, when their condition gets so bad and they have to seek treatment, that they're made aware that they have multiple personalities. So someone who's suffering with this until they're diagnosed, more times than not, are not even aware that they have the disorder. I've shared with you all the how it's developed, the causes, its symptoms, prognosis, etc. And when I think of dissociative identity disorder and how it's caused, I'm reminded of children and how vulnerable they are, and how we as adults place such a huge impact on how their lives are shaped, whether they're going to be happy, healthy, well-rounded children or troubled, like little Shirley Mason. It also reminded me of a quote I read by Kofi Annan, and that is, "There is no trust more sacred than the one the world holds with children. There is no duty more important than ensuring that their rights are respected, that their welfare is protected, that their lives are free from fear and want, and that they can grow up in peace." Thank you all. You've been a great audience, and I'll entertain questions if anyone has any.